What is up, my fellow degenerates? It has been quite some time, but we are back. And would you look at that, the timing? The NFL season is right around the corner. We got 10 days left to the NFL draft. So you guys get the return of our weekly ramblings, as well as talking about our imaginary fantasy football teams. Um, in the interim, though, we have been sending out so many trade offers, so many hypothetical trades, discussions, all that stuff. Dan learned his new method of trading is consulting Chat GPT. He sent out his 200th Chase Brown offer today that got finally accepted. So, congratulations to him. He no longer has Chase Brown in the league. He can thank ChatGPT for that wise investment there, Dan, getting rid of Chase Brown. So, yeah, in this week's video, we're going to talk about how to approach your rookie drafts in Dynasty Fantasy Football. Obviously, it's a good time to gain a lot of value, but it's also a good time to fuck up a lot. So, we're here to help you not fuck up a lot. You want to get the most value you can, whether that's trading up, trading back, taking the best pick available. We'll go over that in this video. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy the video. I'm Dylan with DGen Fantasy Football, and let's talk about some draft planning.
In audio.
3, 2, 1, action. Well, we're back.
Yes,
We literally had
sir.
to dust off the mics.
Yeah.
Do another episode of DGen Fantasy Football. A lot of people, most of all, are. Well, Dylan's now engaged. Congratulations, our
Thank you.
fiancés.
Thank you.
We're hopeful that this podcast was dead, but guess what? The NFL draft is 2 weeks away,
Yes, sir.
and with that comes Dynasty rookie drafts. So we pulled out the microphones. Dylan put his rig back together.
Yep.
We finger popped each other's assholes. And now we're back in the
Yeah,
podcast.
we're good and ready. We're prepped
But-
and ready to go.
My guest bedroom. So tonight we're going to talk about. There's a million mock draft videos out there. Dylan and I watch a lot of them.
Yep.
And until the NFL draft, it's really difficult to say who you think is the third overall pick in the rookie draft. Or fourth or fifth or sixth.
Yeah.
It could really change quite a bit based on landing spot. So I think we're going to go through Dylan has the 101 in our upcoming draft, which is pretty awesome. And it's kind of like what Dylan's team status is and who he would draft. Although the 101, we'll talk about this, but the 101 might be like, regardless of what kind of team you are, you take GNT and so forth. Simon, who might pop on later, has 3 picks next: 102, 103, 104. He's a rebuilder, and so forth and so on. So I brought in the other teams in our league. We can kind of say what their team build is. Some are kind of hard to tell.
Yeah.
But mostly from contending from a rebuild window and what players we think would fall into that tier. But first, Dylan, is there any news around the league? I mean, it's a dead.
Yeah. I mean, it's the middle of the offseason, right? We had our final news of Julio Jones finally retiring last week, right? That was like 3 or 4 days ago.
Amazing.
I thought he was retired 2 years ago, but rest in peace, I guess. His career. It was a great career. So
yeah, no Super Bowls though.
Yeah.
Shame.
And then all I got otherwise is Tyreek allegations, with a woman involved and some sort of potential violence.
Classic. OBJ got caught up in a P. Diddy scandal.
Oh, yeah. So
the NFL is a bit like, I'm a fan of Bravo reality TV.
Yeah.
And there's slight commonalities, but obviously NFL is for men. We keep up with all
for
this
sure.
drama, off-season drama, what players are being arrested for driving 160 or fleeing the scene of a crash, or who, shooting who.
Yeah.
Happens every now and then. R.I.P. Aaron Hernandez.
And the best part is this influences all of our fantasy football moves, right? You get these,
it really does.
These Tyreek news, maybe you try and buy low on him. Someone's going to panic. I mean, he's already old anyways in Dynasty. Someone might be willing to sell him. They hear this, so they're like, for him being such a repeat offender, this is nothing for sure. There's no way he's getting a trade for this, but
it's a good point, because I've tried to buy Tyreek in the offseason
Yeah.
from one of our league mates, and I have not been able to get him because I would pay like I don't know super late first,
Yeah.
and even then, like if the guy's on a contending team, he's hard to pull off because Tyreek is still there's still some hopefulness to him, and he's not like super old. He's not like
Yeah.
33.
Yeah, I have him in a league, and I wouldn't consider him. I mean, you can't consider any player untradeable, but like, I don't think anyone's going to give you something if you're a contending team with Tyreek, like something that makes it worth it, right? Maybe if someone's like the 107, 108 range, I'd take that, but like anything after that, like it's not worth it.
Yeah, yeah, and you were like sure that Tyreek's production would probably outdo
Yeah.
whatever you've got, a Emeka Buka or whatever. But yeah, it's a great point, and it's kind of up to you to decide the type of trouble this player is in, or if there's a trade or contract disagreement.
Yeah.
Is it worth the buy low? Like someone like Rasheed Rice last year.
Yep.
What we've learned is that the NFL is pretty lenient. You have Henry Ruggs level bullshit,
Yep.
and then you have like Jordan Addison, and both of those Jordan Addison, Rasheed, it lowered their price to a pretty good point where Rasheed was on the path to being like probably a top 10 receiver
Yeah.
that you probably bought multiple rounds later, and Addison was a wide receiver 19 or 20.
Yep.
Um, and where you got him, in the seventh round or later was pretty
Yeah.
awesome. And they're still waiting suspension. So, yeah, any other contract news? Nothing too crazy that's been like
No.
involved in
Nothing,
receivers.
yeah, nothing new, nothing surprising. I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of trades and stuff, some wide receiver shuffles. We're not going to go over all those.
Yeah. Vontae, Cooper Cup,
DK,
DK.
Aaron Rodgers not having a team yet, like that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
He's the only one that we're waiting on.
yep, he's like the final hat to
Mm,
drop. But
yep. I could see maybe Kirk getting moved down the road here.
yeah, it just
Um,
logistically so much of it's contracts, right? Like the contract incentive
yeah.
for the Falcons to move him doesn't make sense. So, for this
Yeah.
season at least. But
Yeah. So tell you what, the Rodgers to the Steelers is a pretty important move. I don't want anything to do with George Pickens, probably anyways. But
yeah,
if the Steelers roll out like I don't know, or they draft Shadur Sanders, maybe
yeah,
that would be more exciting to me than Aaron Rodgers. But
yeah.
let's get into it. We're probably gonna talk about Shadur a little bit. So Dylan included a list of these are the top 12
Ish.
ish players. So we're going to use this current top 12 list based on and maybe throw out some other names too, but based on where we're drafting. So Dylan, do you want to kick us off on I don't know what you would call this. This isn't really a mock draft, but like
It's just some draft analysis, some pre-draft
yeah,
analysis. So
some
um
strategic draft planning.
yeah,
At
so
the 101, what
there
do you got?
the 101, I mean, so obviously Ashton Genty, 101. I think this is the only surefire pick here, regardless of team build, anything like that. I think in Dynasty, a lot of people, there's like many ways to go about drafting, right? Like there's many angles. Your teams are in very different timelines of potentially being in a retool, being in a full rebuild, you're contending, you're like on the cusp, middle range of like, what do you do? And there's no right or wrong answer, right? If there was a right answer to everything, you would win every game in fantasy. You'd make all the right picks, but like we have guys like Clyde Edwards-Helaire going first overall in Dynasty a few years ago. Traylon Burks being a high first round pick a few years back. So it's
Ben
still a
Johnson.
complete crapshoot. Like nothing is surefire. So specifically, I'll talk for one of our leagues is one of our buddies, full rebuild Simon. He's got pick 2, pick 3, pick 4. Um, Personally, like having 3 picks in a row for a full rebuild just doesn't make sense to me. I would try and trade down at least one of those, if not more, to try and accrue some more capital. Obviously, you can wait until the NFL draft, and our draft is on the clock, but there's a couple different strategies. But the chances of you hitting 3 picks in a row, all being good talent, is just, we don't really like that.
Would you trade down like one of those picks to get into the back of the first or even in like an early second? Because there's How far would you want to tear down from those early picks where Simon is?
I mean, if you could send 1.4 for 1.9 and a future first or 1.10, 1.11, that kind of range, I think to get the 1.4, you trade up from the very back of the first round, you got to send a future first. So um,
Yeah.
I think I would do that in a heartbeat if I'm Simon. But
And I think a lot of teams that are contending and kind of want, Amari and Hampton, if they think
yeah,
he's going to be the contributor, or even if Henderson or uh,
yeah,
someone who doesn't need feel because he really needs a quarterback. So obviously he's going to prioritize that. And
yeah. It's just about like
you know,
accruing the most value overall
yeah,
kind of deal instead of, I know,
yeah, especially because he's not in like an end stage rebuild. Like there's the teams that rebuild last year, and it's pretty obvious like they're going to be winning a lot of weeks. And then there's teams that lack quarterbacks, and you're probably looking at another year
yeah,
before you're like actually serious playoff person who can get a playoff berth.
yeah. Unfortunately, you're not like making the championship probably with like Geno Smith as your QB1 and Sam Darnold. But you,
Yeah,
eh, unless the rest of your team is god tier, but yeah. So, I mean, you just want to accrue the most value overall through the draft, whether that's picking the players available, that's trading for established players, more future picks, that kind of thing. So, um, but Ashton Genty, unanimous 1-1. I think doesn't matter where he gets drafted. Um, he's going to be the first running back off the board, no question. But even if he falls to like 12 or 15 and doesn't get the first top 10 draft capital, it doesn't matter. It doesn't change any thoughts on him. Um, he's just
yeah,
he's that good. Um,
yeah. And the hit rate for guys drafted and running backs drafted in the first round of the NFL draft is like pretty amazing.
yep.
A dynasty domain guys, I think it was like 75% of first round RBs put together multiple production years.
Yeah.
If you weren't, say you were in a position where you didn't have the quarterbacks, your rebuild didn't go as well as it had, would you still be interested in Ashton Genty, even though he's highest value? Because we hear that a lot. Like, don't draft for positional need.
Yeah.
Rookie draft, just draft value.
Yeah.
But would you still take that running back?
If you can't move the pick, but I think if you're in a full
Yeah,
rebuild and you have the 101, you you want to move the pick before or move Genty once you draft him. It doesn't mean you have to move him before the draft, but I still like the idea of,
yeah,
I mean, because he's like unanimous RB3 in Dynasty right now, right? Overall, he's behind Bijan and Gibbs, and that's it. And even then, some people are, I mean, you can't put him above them, but he's definitely like right there with them. So, I mean, you trade a player like that, you can get some serious assets back. So, I mean, if you don't have a
yeah,
quarterback, you can trade him for a quarterback. You could probably get like a Justin Herbert player type QB for Genty.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, even if maybe more, like Denti is interesting. You if you can't move your pick before the rookie draft, you draft him, wait for like summer hype to start up, and then you just
yeah,
have a haul. Okay, so Simon is up in the next. He has 102, 103, 104. We talked about here. Again, I think for him, it's just like he's value drafting, and also kind of aligns with his team needs a little bit. He needs a quarterback. He's quarterback-less, and he is kind of asset-less to some extent. He has ETJ and neighbors of note. So for
yeah.
him, if he feels pretty far away, like, are you drafting a running back at all with that? Or are you trying to move a pick,
I
get
mean,
a quarterback,
I'm trying to move a
get
pick for
another
sure.
get another foundational receiver and keep it going?
Yeah, I mean, with this many picks, you have to go Cam Ward, I think. But I think depending on like the price discrepancy of like what people are offering, obviously Hampton is a very enticing asset. He's probably first round draft capital in the NFL, but he might not be. But he's kind of turning into the consensus 102. Um,
Yeah.
but Simon, if you're a team that has zero running backs and zero quarterbacks, one running back isn't going to solve that issue. So Um, I don't know. I could see him taking the 2 players he wants the most first and then trading the next pick back. Doesn't matter where it is. If it's like 104 and he doesn't take Hampton, someone could pay a price to get Hampton. So, even if it's moving back only a couple picks, right? Like you're what, like Zach's the one of someone has 2, 3, someone has 3 late firsts in our draft. Maybe they send 2 of those for the 104, and then you say turn the 104 into 2 firsts, moving back only 3
Yeah,
spots. Like that's not
that's
too
pretty sweet.
bad. But yeah,
Yeah, gotcha.
but
Yeah, so then it's he's meeting team needs, he's getting value, and he's also kind of just like you said before, the chances of you hitting on all 3 guys to be long-term team values just seems low,
yeah,
where you can just increase your future or more you just get more picks out of it,
yeah,
increase your chances. Okay. So in that range, right now, those guys are Pet, Cam Ward, and Amari and Hampton. Although
yep.
we'll see. Do you like Hampton?
Um, I think Hampton got pushed really high up because the combine, and like that always
Yeah.
happens at this time of year. And this always happens specifically, I feel like, with the running backs, where somebody just goes way up the boards and is assumed that they are like a workhorse running back. And I mean, he, it's kind of, you could say the same for Genty, but it's like, what happens if Hampton goes to the Chargers, right? That's a really good spot. And he has Najee there. And I think long term, that's fucking amazing for Hampton. And it's good to draft him. But like, he's not going to have a big impact his rookie year. That in that case.
Yeah.
So, but I do like Hampton. I don't think he's quite as. I think a lot of these running backs are getting propped up right now, and unfortunately, one of them's going to be a fucking bust, and I don't know which
Yeah.
one.
Dude,
I
I've been
like,
thinking about this. So all spring we've been hearing like this is an amazing running back class. And I was really buying that hype. And as we're moving along, I'm like, like rookie running backs can contribute. They probably have a better chance and opportunity to contribute than other positions. But some of these guys are gonna bust,
yeah,
and initially I thought that high riser that kind of fell back down to earth was Caleb Johnson a little bit.
yeah, that's
I
true.
still like
He's fallen down a lot, but
yeah.
um,
I still like Caleb.
yeah, I like Caleb's talent as like a workhorse. Like some shit team can take him and give him fucking 350 carries, um,
Yeah.
and pound him into the
Like
ground. But yeah,
what Najee should have been.
but I think all these running backs in this range have like very good potential. Obviously, Judkins is a fucking specimen. Same with Hampton, of course, and then Henderson, very enticing for PPR game. But
Yeah. Yeah. If you're a rebuilder there early on, I don't think I'm like like an actual multi-year rebuild. I'm not drafting him. I don't want to trade it away.
yeah,
Um, okay, so moving on at the 105 is another team. He finished 7th last year. Has a couple of really good. He has the 2 best running back assets in Dynasty football. He's got Gibbs and Bijan, some other decent pieces. If you're, I have a feeling he's going to draft not for value, but like what fits his team. Here, part of me thinks like you go for it with Travis Hunter at the 105.
yeah,
He needs wide receivers above all, maybe a
yeah,
tight end. But it seems kind of odd to do a tight end when you need such a desperate for foundational receivers. But you take Hunter this early, like if he goes to the Patriots, but no other news.
yeah. I I think you do. I think well, it depends, right? Because Simon doesn't like Tet for some reason. Or I don't know if
True.
he doesn't
Ted,
like him.
Ted would,
If Tet's here, Tet's the no-brainer pick at 105. I think he should be a top 4 guy, lock. But I really like Travis Hunter. We've both fluctuated so much, right?
you
Um,
and I've been on the same page with him for the past few weeks. I would say is when
yeah,
things started to kind of
yeah,
the trend kind of turned around. Where I don't know if this is just like Twitter guru hype that like no one from Travis's camp or NFL execs have even mentioned this, but like people are starting to think he's going to be a receiver now
Yeah.
and get substantial receiver snaps.
Yeah. If he's a receiver, I would love to take him at the 105. Um, I think if he is I think he's very talented. He's just great ball skills. Yeah,
He's
I would
so good.
have no issue taking him at the 105. Or yeah. But it has to
He's
be
so
like a
good.
good landing spot though for him to be a receiver, like Drake May's wide receiver one,
Yeah.
would be perfect.
Okay. So landing spot. Would you would you go any higher than that? Same scenario. He went to the Patriots or another like comparable team where there's a young quarterback, there's not a lot of
Yeah.
competition, blah blah blah. Would you feel comfortable ever taking him if you had the 102, 103, 101?
Without them saying he's a wide receiver, I think it's hard.
Yeah.
Um,
And it does
but
kind of kill the risk payoff. If you take him in the middle of the first round or back towards the first round and then he becomes amazing, it's a
yeah,
huge payoff. But
if
you take
I'm
him 101 over Genty.
yeah, if I'm the 104 and Hampton, Genty, and Tet are off the board, and I don't want Cam Ward, I don't personally. I think Cam Ward's okay, but I don't. Not a huge fan for such a high pick. I mean, I'm sure he deserves to go 101 in the NFL draft to the Titans. They need a quarterback, but I could see myself taking Travis Hunter there. For sure, like the idea of Travis Hunter over Travion Henderson, Judkins, Luther Burden. So yeah, I think I'd go
Sure.
as high as 104 without them saying he's a receiver. But if
Yeah.
they say he's receiver, I
Yeah.
could go.
Then this exercise is dead. Obviously, that changes a lot of things.
Yeah, I
But I'm
could
just
see
like, how,
going 102.
yeah. Yeah, if they come out and say like he's gonna play mostly receiver and come in on different packages on defense, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, then all the worry is gone.
Yeah.
And you have the whole league to contend with trying to get him. Okay.
Yeah.
Other guys at 105 that, for someone who's trying to draft receivers specifically to fit their team needs, it's not really recommended, but Luther Burden, I think, is definitely growing on me. Outside
Yeah.
of that, I wouldn't draft Emeka Ibuka.
No.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
those are really I like some different receivers in this class, but they're all too similar to like last year's Jalen Polk, where it could be really good, or
Yeah.
or a Quentin Johnson, where like they're good college players and
Yeah.
have a lot of cool pro traits, but you just don't know.
Yeah.
It's too hard to know.
I might not take a single wide receiver in any of my draft picks this year across any of my leagues.
Yeah, just to like not even with it. Yeah,
Granted, I don't
it's
have a
tough.
lot of picks in a lot of my leagues, so but like it's hard to tell. I like Burden a lot. I think everybody's cooled super off on him. I think if he falls to like the 107, 108, you're getting a steal with Luther Burden there. Um,
Yeah,
but
I
those
have the 106,
yeah,
which is the next pick. Which I won our league last year, still in my window, a bit of a retool. If I was going down to like positional needs, I think value wise here we'll find out. I thought about just going highest value.
yeah,
Positional needs are definitely like, would Warren be too high to draft? We got Tucker Kraft. He was okay last year. He's young. Um, the Packers too. Their receiving
yeah,
options are kind of mid in fantasy.
yeah.
So I thought about Warren, or I thought about just getting more running back depth here as well in case something happens like it does every year.
Yeah,
Or
I
do you
think
trade the pick away?
that's true. You could trade it away. I think like the 106 is probably going to be another running back pick in most leagues,
Yeah,
whether it's like the Judkins or Henderson. Um, but I feel like this middle tier is where you're going to start seeing the tight ends go. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if both Warren and Loveland go in this range, especially with the landing spots of what we get. I think everybody's kind of like, for the most part, more excited about Warren and think he has a
Yeah.
better immediate impact, but he might go earlier in the draft, i.e., a worse location. So um, I could see Loveland getting drafted ahead of him in some leagues. So um,
Yeah. Yeah, Warren is exciting. I mean, I would be fine with I don't really know much about Loveland yet. Like you mentioned, he just didn't have the same kind of production at Michigan,
yeah,
that Warren did. Warren put up, like he was their primary weapon. They had Kayshon Allen, Singletary, and then Warren was like I was taking snaps under center and shit. It was crazy.
yeah, he had some
Um,
little Brock Bowers usage.
yeah, he really did. He really did. I don't know what Brock Bowers' 40 time is.
Yeah, no, I'm
I got to
not trying to
imagine.
compare him to Brock Bowers though.
Yeah,
That's
I got to imagine Brock's like running a 4.5 at his
yeah,
size or
Brock
some
was
shit.
getting
Just
the
crazy.
goal line carries though a little bit at Georgia, so
Yeah.
that's
Hey, I'm excited when I see tight ends get carries. Like Tucker Kraft got a few carries
yeah,
last year. I mean,
his
it
little
means
touch push.
athletic. Yeah, like how you can do different things besides block and catch. Yeah, so as a contender, like I don't know, I haven't really thought much about selling the pick. To be honest, our league isn't the market for picks hasn't really like sped up much yet. I noticed earlier that there's like 12 of the picks are owned by like five of us
Yeah,
in the league. And the other seven don't really seem, or maybe it's six of us, so the other seven don't really seem to be all that interested in getting back into the first round yet. So I'm hoping
yeah,
after the NFL draft and when we find out where guys are going to be and people start paying attention, they'll get a little bit of FOMO. Um, okay. My cousin's up next. His team was very bad last year. He was one of like three intentional rebuilds. He has the 107 and 108.
yeah,
And here he doesn't really have any running backs. He has quarterbacks. He has like a pretty, I don't know, average receiving core, I would say. He's got Puka, elite, and then Waddle and Jaden Reed. And then he has Trey McBride.
yeah,
And I think if he plays his cards right, like he could easily be looking at a playoff berth potentially.
yeah. He also has Rome, right?
He has Rome, Odunze. Yeah, so if
Yeah,
Rome season improves, Jaden Reed gets better, you never know.
yeah,
So I do think I could see Zach potentially trading one, but if he didn't, players in this range that would kind of work for him. I think he takes all running backs here.
yeah.
I
I
think he
think
just goes
yeah. If you
whoever I
don't,
didn't take.
yeah, if Judkins or Henderson falls here, he takes them. I think if Caleb Johnson's here, who I think he should be here because Zach has the 7, the 8, and the 10. I think he
Yeah.
gets like a one of those guys. He gets Johnson for sure, and then the last pick he can kind of fuck around with, whether he wants to get
Yep.
another tight end like Loveland, or maybe Luther Burden's there, or Mecca Buka if he likes him, kind of thing. But I think he goes two
Yeah.
RBs, and
And I think for someone like in his stage of rebuild, I think his team, is not definitely not like top 5 or 4,
yeah,
but someone like him, like it's okay to have a rookie running back, not really contribute in year one. You finish out your rebuild, and they're all going into their year two. Maybe the guy they were behind, aka Najee Harris, has
yeah,
his 1 year deal. He's gone, and then now you have Henderson or Judkins all alone, and you're
yeah,
ready to go into year 3 of our league.
yeah,
So they all make sense for like a mid
yeah.
mid to late rebuild.
Yeah, I
Those
do
guys.
also I really don't like the idea of picking so many picks so close together, right? Because it's like
Yeah,
all the players in that tier needing to be the same tier and same outlook and all that stuff. It's just and I don't want to call his team like a fraud, but like I think in Dynasty you have to pick your times of like when you don't want to have to go all in, but like if you know your team can not just like compete, but like you don't want to come out and rebuild and be like, all right, guys, I made the playoffs and
I'm
I
gonna
got
finish
sick.
third every year.
Or like I finished sixth, right? Like and
Yeah,
got fucking
made
booted
the
out
playoffs
first
again.
round. Like
Yeah,
you kind of want to wait. So I think trying to like rebuild obviously you want to win and rebuilding slow sucks, but sometimes you need to like really time everything well, get it all going. So if you could, I don't know, trade these for establish assets, future assets, that kind of thing. That's always a good idea, but there's no blueprint, right?
I agree. I mean, what would you do? When you draft all in the same tier like that, you're gonna hit one of them. But like the goal is that if you have 3 first round picks and you draft with them all, you hit all 3 of them.
Yeah, you don't.
Um, yeah, and when it's in the same tier, it's kind of like okay,
Yeah,
not all those guys are gonna succeed, but a guy from tier 1, tier 2, tier 3,
yeah,
right? There's gonna be winners in all those tiers, and it's like,
yeah,
how do you get to that?
yeah. Turning three
Uh,
first round picks into one good starter is not a good.
yeah,
That's not a good outcome. So,
Yep.
but
Yeah, in that range, you know, I think all these players are make sense. Herc has the 109, and I think he made the playoffs last year. Needs running backs like everyone else. And here, same guys. I think Burden will probably be gone by the 109.
yeah,
I think he's going to be a riser.
yep.
But Loveland, Caleb Johnson, Mecca Ibuka, I could see him going in this range. What do you think about a Mecca?
I'm not huge on Emeka. I think he'll be
Are you not
decent.
huge? I was hoping you'd say you liked him.
No, I've kind of had the same stance on him the whole time of like, I just don't think his ceiling is very high.
Yeah.
In
Okay,
terms of
that's fair.
talent or in terms of fantasy output. I think he's very good,
Yeah.
but I don't think his ceiling is going to be. I feel like
It's like a fantasy, like a
fantasy.
12 points per game kind of guy.
Yeah, I feel like he's like 11 points. Like I feel like he's a safe 11 at his
Okay.
worst and like a fucking 14 at his best. He's like I don't know. I feel like he's like a shitty Garrett, not player wise, but like Garrett Wilson of like that. Like, oh, is he
Like
going to make
output.
the step up? But no, and then he gets
Yeah.
13.3 points per game, and you're like, oh, this is kind of
Yeah. Not like play style, you were saying. You're talking like
pure,
production.
yeah, pure like fantasy production numbers.
Yeah.
But obviously Garrett
Okay.
Wilson bad comp because he gets fucking so many targets and like 100 plus catches every year. But
Which is epic.
yeah,
But and Garrett Wilson is also relatively consistent. I don't know his consistency score from last year.
yeah,
In fantasy football just drops the ultimate draft kick. I sure will though.
yeah.
Um, do you think Emeka could potentially be like a weekly 12 points per game? Because like, dude, I'd take a weekly guy that's putting
Oh
up
yeah,
12
like I
points.
think he's like he's someone I'd be happy to have in my lineup, but I'm not like hell yeah, dude. I got a Mecha Ibuka with my first round pick.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
What if he was like um what if he was like a spike week guy? That's not really his play style. So
yeah,
would you like a guy that could put up 30 points or 6 points here?
yeah.
I don't think there's
Sometimes,
anyone I don't think there's like anyone in this draft
yeah.
range here that
That's the Jaden Reed special.
yeah.
But
But I don't think any players here kind of fit that mold.
Ma-
Burden doesn't really feel like
you
he
know
fits
who
it either.
fits that mold is Matthew Golden, baby.
Yep.
Um,
He
I
reminds me of Jalen Polk.
I do not like Matthew Golden at all, though. I
Yeah.
think
I'm not talking play style either, but just the way they're being hyped up in the draft and
I cannot
and
wait to roast whoever in my leagues, in all of my leagues, as soon as Matthew Golden gets drafted.
yeah,
I don't even
I
care
agree.
what his landing spot is. Even if he's on the Chiefs, they're not going to draft him. But I'm like,
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of one of those things where you're like,
yeah, he's the
kind of,
biggest red flag for me that was been getting hyped. And it's kind of cooled
yeah.
down, but it's still like it was really high right after the combine, which always happens with these fucking zoomy boys. But
Always. Um, okay. Next up, we talked about Zach is the 110,
yeah,
same player range. Let's talk about Shador real quick though.
yeah,
Um, Zach's team doesn't really need it. He has a couple quarterbacks, but again, if you're drafting for value, having a third starting quarterback is like pretty important, I would say.
yeah. I think it's
Do you think,
huge.
yeah, do you think Shador gets drafted in our league in the back of the first?
I think he should, and I feel like he might be a steal at that point, but it really comes down to the NFL draft, right? If he goes 103
Yeah,
to the Giants and you get him at the 110, I feel like that's a fucking steal. Like, um, but
yeah,
if he falls to the like later first and he's going to be a backup to start his career, like I don't know. I mean, he could be a backup on the Giants still, but
yeah. Even if he
um,
was drafted really like really high.
yeah. But I think if it really, he's an interesting case. He's hard to know. I think he'll be serviceable. Um, I think he's kind of similar. I think he'll be kind of like Bryce Young.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
that's
that's
kind
fair.
of my player
It might
comp.
take a couple of years to develop, and even then, you're still like, well, what do we want him to be? Like
Yeah,
top
like
15, top 16?
yeah, like he's my low end quarterback too ceiling. I don't know.
Yeah,
So, but
brutal.
I mean, all the stats are not in his favor, but he kind of is. I want to dislike him, but would you hear me? He's not that bad, other than that shit with Cam Ward. Did you hear it when they were like warming up together? The
Yeah, and they're like,
couple,
"I wanna be generational."
yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
then
wanna be a legend.
the thing about the balls,
Oh,
where
I don't know if I remember that part.
Shador was like, I only practice with brand new balls, like game balls kind of thing, like mentality. Cam
Yeah.
Ward's like, dude, I I I throw the ball at the floor like a basketball and it gets all fucked up, and I don't care. Like I throw shitty balls and it's and Shador's like, well, that
Yeah,
won't translate well to the game. And it's like, oh my God, you little fucking golden child.
I know, and, like, maybe it works? I don't
Yeah.
know, if Shador was back here, I'd have a hard time, and I still had the 111, 'cause I have the 111 next, and I think I'll try to move it if I can, to tier up a player or, like, maybe
Yeah.
drop back to the beginning of the 2nd round.
Yeah.
Um, I think if you have good value on your team and you have the 110 to 112, like, trading back to the 201 to 203
Yeah.
actually makes a lot of sense because, like, the hit rate is probably kinda the same unless you really wanted Loveland or I don't know who else falls there, Caleb Johnson.
Yeah.
Um, but I definitely thought about taking another quarterback at 111, like shooting a shot on Dart and,
Yeah.
Shador, but as, like, someone who has running backs that are aging, it doesn't really feel like a super smart play. It feels like like what you were talking about, like, if you wanna win, you have to try to win. You don't just wanna try to be a perennial top 5 team,
Yeah.
um, or a playoff if someone makes the playoffs. Like, I don't know. It part of me feels like it would be smart to grab another quarterback in case, like, Michael Penix doesn't work out for me.
Yeah.
The other part of me is, like, just go for a guy that I think will be getting NFL opportunity as fastest,
Yeah. Yeah.
which, again, depends on landing spot.
Yeah. And this is like an ass cheek quarterback class. So
Yeah, it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. I don't know. Would it also be appropriate to, like, trade to next year's draft and get back a 2026 first or something? Maybe.
yeah.
That'd be kind of interesting. But
Yeah.
again, that's also like a future move. You push your chips all in and
Yeah.
go for if Travis Hunter's sitting there and you went to the Browns, like,
Yeah.
like what would you do?
Yeah.
All right. And then top it off, Simon has the 112. Again, he's a rebuilder. I have a feeling he's going to take a shot on a quarterback here, whether it's Shador. I could also see him just ripping Jackson Dart here.
Yeah.
Um, he's really in need of it, but I don't think he drafts tight end here or Loveland. It's too far away.
No.
And too deep into a rebuild to really think about tight end.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I
Other guys like in the 2nd round you wanna talk about real quick that
um
might sneak their way up to the 1st?
you know who might sneak his way up, which I think would be kind of funny, is Scatabo. Um,
Dude, I thought he was dead after his 40 time came out.
yeah,
People made fun of him for like 2 days, and now it's, like, right back to me.
yeah. So I
I'm like,
mean,
"This guy's a stud."
yeah, I'm sure Matthew Golden's going to go around that area. If Dart doesn't go in the
Yep.
first, I could see Dart. We got a Dylan Sampson from Tennessee. He could be a guy there.
Yeah, he's been getting more hype for sure. I
He's
could see Trey Harris.
Yeah, Trey Harris. Any of those wide receivers that I can't imagine Ibuka falls out of the first round. So, but
I've seen some people ranking him as like a early second,
yeah,
mid second pick. I feel like that'd be a steal, honestly.
yeah. So if Ibuka's in the second, I would love him in the second. I feel like that's a great pick.
Yeah.
But a lot of these,
While he lacks the upside, does feel rather
yeah,
safe. Like his
yeah.
athleticism. Yeah.
And then guys like Devin Neal, maybe. You know who I've found myself being absurdly high on lately that I haven't told anyone, that I'm kind of embarrassed to bet, is he just had a terrible year, but Ollie Gordon. Dude, I've gone back and watched his tape from last year, like previous year, and I'm like, damn, this guy is good. But
yeah, there was a lot. So Hampton, Judkins, Henderson, Caleb Johnson, they've always been in the conversation, but a few months ago, like right when the season ended, we started looking towards the draft. The running back prospects there's a lot more guys. Like there's the Michigan running back was in the talks.
yeah.
And a few other guys like Ollie Gordon, Dylan Sampson, Devin Neal, Scadaboo. Yeah, these guys, that's all landing spot, right?
Yeah, I think
like
so.
Where these running backs go.
Yeah. I mean, because Ollie Gordon at Oklahoma State coming into 2024, he was viewed as like the potential RB1 overall in the class, and then just terrible year. But I mean, some mocks have him going like third round, dude. That's like a fucking sweet pick. So
yeah, have you put together your late round flyers yet?
I got a couple. It's so hard to know too.
I don't have the right draft. I have the 1-6, 1-12,
yeah,
and the 3-12. And so like the 3-12 is a deep dart throw.
Yeah, I got in some leagues, yeah, I got like mid second. I got a 301, 401. I feel like 301 I can get someone decent.
Yeah, he's gonna get a shot.
And then I mean 401's a dart, right? But like I'm gonna be happy whoever I pick there. It's a running back, dude.
Yeah.
I don't think like Bashaw Tootin's gonna fall to 401, but like he's an exciting pick for later in the draft.
Yeah.
But
those guys are fun. And like the way you evaluate that is it's just like where they get drafted, their draft capital, how high they got drafted.
Yeah.
And whether you think the running back that's with them is, there's some crack in the door, doorway to get in there, get to play. Bashaw Tootin is fun to watch.
Yeah. But this year, the draft will be everybody chasing this year's Bucky Irving, of course, right? The late round rookie running back who's going to be the fucking top 5 RB. So,
yeah. Good luck. Which Tootin, maybe he's that guy. He's certainly being like, piped up. Just receiver wise, I like he's like falling quite a bit. I've realized
Jaden Higgins
was kind of Jaden Higgins.
Yeah,
he's been falling a lot. He was kind of like a firm second round guy. Is it Alec
Io Manor.
Io Manor.
Yeah,
he's another guy, but he's kind of fallen.
Yeah, he kind of had that one hype game from a year ago that everyone keeps pointing to because he played against fucking Colorado in 2023.
Yeah, and like torched them.
And he torched Travis Hunter. So
yeah,
but
I know.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of hype. But it's so hard to know with these wide receivers.
I know. I keep thinking about like Quentin Johnson because I think guys like Higgins and Io Manor and even Tet to some extent, like they all have that kind of like Drake London, Nico Collins body type.
That long boy.
Yeah. Exactly. They have that body type that like people dream about, like, oh, he's gonna catch 12 touchdowns.
They're all fucking like kind of skinny as fuck though.
Yeah.
That's
and then you remember Quentin Johnson. And also when you're looking at content, like keep in mind all these fantasy guru guys, like they need something to talk about.
Yeah.
So they're always going to find guys to hype up.
Yeah.
Every year we see it. Every year. My favorite part of the year is actually the summertime when people are like dropping their What's like the 4 players you can put on your taxi squad?
Oh yeah, that like the
Or like
your
picking up
sleeper
waivers of some
taxi,
random
your sleeper
Yep.
taxi picks of the year kind of thing, dude.
Kinda like moving along with the market even though it's like June
And
and July, you're just
yeah,
dropping guys.
dude. Like last year, I was so pumped to draft fucking Ryan Flornay and Casey Washington. Trying to think of some other guys that I was like Anthony Gould. It's like you don't even know any of these guys' names now.
Even guys like Chase McClellan,
Yeah.
he went to the Falcons, like,
Yeah.
he was a guy that was, like, people were competing for.
Yeah. They're like, dude, he's gonna be such
In
a good
waivers.
stash. Yeah.
Phil Shipley.
Yeah. So
And, some of these guys will get their shot, but it's not gonna be the McClellans and the Shipleys. It will be like Trey Benson.
yeah.
Trey Benson will a 3rd round draft pick will eventually get an opportunity to be a starter.
Yeah.
Like, that's a fact. We could go down. There's plenty of 2nd and 3rd round running backs that have failed. But if we go down that list over the last 5 years, I guarantee you there's a moment in their career, in their rookie deal, where they got a shot at, like, serious playing time.
That's James Cook, right?
What you say?
James Cook, good example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or some guys, like, he did a good job of it, but, like, Trey Sermon, 3rd
Yeah.
round pick. He sucks. He sucks.
Yeah.
There was a moment. It was a brief moment, but he had a moment
Yeah.
where he got to start a game for the Champions for no better place to play than the 49ers. And he kinda got another shot on the Colts. Like, there'll be times these
Yeah.
guys all have it. So that's another thing. You maybe go trade for some of these of last year's cream of the crop.
Yeah.
Alright. I think that'll do it.
Yes, sir.
We're back.
We are back, baby.
Make sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll see you next week.
See you, boys. Peace.
Later.